We all know the outcome of the election that was concluded 2 weeks ago. First things first, let me acknowledge the effort by the two sides because the campaign was not easy. In the weeks leading to the election, the two leading parties were equally strong and it was hard to predict the outcome. When Chebukati took to the stage, I deeply wished that Azimio could somehow win. Although I was disappointed like many of you, I knew there could only be one winner. Whether I liked the outcome or not, I felt that Chebukati's announcement was final and brought the campaign period to end. In fact, most Kenyans accepted the outcome and slowly went back to their jobs. Meanwhile, Ruto's team went to celebrate their win. The president-elect went on to meet leaders elected through his party, and even convince those elected through the rival party to join his team. However, celebrations in Ruto's camp was cut short as they now have to prepare to defend their win in apex court. Well, because not everyone took Chebukati's voice as a final say. As some of us expected, the Azimio team went to court to have the results nullified. Unfortunately, it is likely that they will have a difficult time before the 7-judge bench of the Supreme Court. Even if you are an Azimio supporter like myself, it is easy to see why the allegations made by Azimio will not convince the judges. Based on their recent statements, it is clear that the team makes 4 allegations. The first allegation is that there were attempts to hack the system by unauthorized people. The problem with this claim is that attempts to compromise the system does not amount to fraud. For this allegation to be taken seriously, Azimio will have to prove that the IEBC servers were actually compromised leading to incorrect results. Of course, Azimio might tap into the conflict within IEBC and argue that there was no agreement among the 7 IEBC commissioners as to what should be announced as the final result. I see this allegation as unconvincing because the issue at hand is more about numbers rather than consensus. While an agreement among the commissioners about how the elections should be run is required, no agreement is required regarding the outcome of the elections. Once Kenyans cast their votes, IEBC's role remains purely counting the votes and announcing the results as they are. No discussion is required. I know the Azimio side perceives the decision of the 4 commissioners to denounce the results as beneficial to their case. However, the mistakes that those commissioners made in their press conference is more harmful than it is beneficial to Azimio's side. One such mistake is equating 0.01% of 14 million votes to 142,000 votes. With such obvious mistakes, one cannot help to imagine that Chebukati was right by keeping them out of the figures, that is if it's true that Chebukati ignored their concerns about the accuracy of the results as they claim. The 4 also claimed that they could not own the results because the cumulative tally was not displayed at Bomas of Kenya. In my view, failing to display the cumulative tally does not affect the accuracy of the results obtained in presence of chief agents of the 4 candidates. If anyone should complain about the results not being displayed, it's the media and public for being kept in the dark as tension rose. Although Azimio might use this as their second allegation, it is unlikely that it will boost their case in court. Of course, Kenyans on social media have already related the fact that the 4 commissioners were appointed by President Uhuru in 2021 to their recent behavior. Memes shared online regarding the said appointment seem to suggest that the President Uhuru's appointees could have been influenced to denounce the results in a bid to help Azimio in sowing doubt in the result. In my view, however, this is purely reading too much from the connection because the president was simply doing his duty. Unless more evidence pointing to the collusion between the president's side and the commissioners comes out, it will be difficult to use this argument in court. We all know that Chebukati called them out because they wanted him to declare a runoff, but we can only wait to see if he has any evidence to support his statement. A third allegation that is made by Azimio is the errors and mistakes done by IEBC officials, including missing forms, lack of agent signatures in some 34A forms. Well, this is an acceptable argument, but given that there were isolated cases, it cannot be perceived as adequate to overturn the otherwise credible, simple and verifiable election as required the law. In other words, the few errors cannot be used as a justification to send more than 14 million Kenyans back to the ballot and subject them to a week-long wait of results processing as economic activities grind to a halt. For those of us who followed the US elections, even dead voters were reported, but it was not enough to overturn the elections. More importantly, the IEBC has availed all the Form 34s online and open to public scrutiny. Some call them the DNA of the election. Anyone who doubts the election can simply download the forms and do their own tally. For me, the greatest question in court will be whether Azimio has done its own tally and what figures they found. Of course, summation is a mathematical operation and should have only correct answer no matter who does it. As you might be aware, summations conducted by independent parties including international media have reported in favor of Ruto. From a practical perspective, a Ruto's win could probably be the best outcome possible given that no violence was witnessed following the announcement. Maybe a Raila's win could drive a section of Kenyans to turn against their neighbors as was the case in 2007. Far from the court, Raila's case might not gain the support of ordinary Kenyans. This is because a significant part of our Kenyan population survive on the hand-to-mouth basis. As such, any disruption from daily routine caused by political process is not welcome. Cutting long story short, I admit there were mistakes made in the just concluded elections and it should be not a surprise to anyone. As the saying goes, human is to error. While gross errors cannot be tolerated, errors made in this election are clearly within acceptable limits as far as the allegations are concerned. Although it is hard for Azimio diehards to side with me, my opinion is that the 2022 elections are over and Odinga's fate is sealed.